Welcome back. This is the third section of Lecture 1 for Bio158. In the previous two sections, we learned about the 8 characteristics of life. Now, we're going to switch gears a little bit to what are called the unifying themes of life. Now, we're going to get into each one of these more in detail in the coming slides, but to go over them quickly, we are organized. This means that we're organized internally. Our structures fit our functions, or we have specific bodily structures that are designed for very specific tasks. And we experience what is called interdependence, both within ourselves internally and with the world around us. First, life is organized. You can see from the general organization of life from our list on the screen and the figure to the right, there are several organizational levels of life. The smallest are atoms. Now you might be more familiar with these as elements. So something, if you remember back to chemistry class, like you would see in the periodic table. So for example, carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, and oxygen are all examples of commonly occurring atoms. Now, a group of atoms make up what's called a molecule, indicated by number 2 on our figure. Now, a good example of a molecule is the molecule DNA, which we're going to learn a lot more about next week. After atoms and molecules come cells. Cells are the smallest form of life. A collection of cells that perform a specific function is what we call a tissue. So think of your skin. Collectively, skin cells have specific functions that work together, that act as a barrier to physical harm, and also protects you from certain types of diseases. Now, number 5 is an organ, or a collection of tissues that all work together to perform a specific function. Think of something like the stomach. There are multiple types of tissue within the stomach that have very different jobs, but that all allow you to process and digest food. Next is an organ system, which are groups of organs that work together to perform a specific function. Now we see from our figure that the stomach that we were thinking about for our organ example is part of the larger digestive system, right? So it's a group of organs that are working together to help us process food, get nutrients from that food, and then ultimately eliminate waste. And finally, the organismal level, number 7, and you guessed it, that's us. Now, second is that form serves function. Now, what this means is that structures are shaped a very specific way to perform a specific task or job. Take a look at the 3 images. What can you notice about the shoulder joint to the left? This shoulder joint is what's called a ball and socket joint. This allows your shoulder to rotate through a greater range of motion than any other joint in your body. This is extremely important considering all that our arms are asked to do. Next, look at the image of the human hand. What do you think the hand is primarily designed to do? If your first thought was to grab things, then you're absolutely correct. And finally, we see a picture of our small and large intestines over to the right. The small intestine in the center looks like a long winding tube with many twists and turns. This is where most of the absorption of nutrients takes place from the food that we eat. So it needs the long winding tract to increase surface area to be able to absorb all of those vital nutrients. In fact, the human small intestine is about 20 feet long. And finally, this idea of interdependence. And this means all life depends on other life. We, for example, as humans, depend on plants and animals to provide food. We even have living things like bacteria that are living in our gut and intestines that help us break down certain foods and get nutrients from those foods. All systems in your body depend on other systems in the body working properly as well. And at a smaller level, all cells in the body depend on other cells to perform their specific job so that we can maintain homeostasis and remain happy. We'll talk much more about these three unifying themes of life throughout the semester as we go through various systems of the human body and see how we meet both the 8 characteristics from the previous sections and the 3 themes that we've just talked about. We have 11 organ systems that you can see here. In this semester, we will be covering 7 of them that you can see highlighted in blue. These are the digestive system, the circulatory system, the respiratory system, the excretory system, the nervous system, the reproductive system, and the immune system. That ends the first set of lectures for Bio158. So just a few general announcements for next week. If you didn't finish the online discussion, please do so by this coming Wednesday. Remember, you have to respond to the prompt, what does it mean to you to be alive? Then reply to 2 of your classmates' responses to get full credit. At the start of class on Wednesday, we will have our first quiz. It will be based on information in the previous 3 sections of the lecture, the accompanying note sheet, and the definitions from your Quizlet flashcards. All of this information is available on the Canvas website. Thanks for listening, guys.